this room and several people who aren't here, from the legislative level all the way to the guy standing on the street corner in the sporting goods store talking about it. I think it could be a very positive hunt and program, and see what happens here. But anyway, our board discussed this. We too also thought for the first year that the department's ideas was a little bit steep, but we went ahead and went with one elk tag, one antelope, a desert sheep, and what am I forgetting? And the deer. We, members of our board, talked to several people around the community and stuff, and they all thought that that'd be a fair number of tags to start with, and see what people were interested in. And then as far as 2012 went, kind of see what happened with 2011, and you know, go from there. So.
Mr. Chairman, could he repeat your microphone, please?
One for each, Commissioner Capurro. Be one Silver State tag for mule deer, one Silver State tag for pronghorn antelope, one Silver State tag for Rocky Mountain elk, and one Silver State tag for Nelson Bighorn sheep is what was recommended by our board.
Now, when this was being run through the legislature and whatnot, what was the numbers that were thrown about there? I mean, now you went over to great length there. I mean,
you know, I'd have to go back and look at the record to state it properly. I'm not sure. I don't know at that point if there was a consideration of how many tags at that point. It was mainly just to try to get the program going. And I'd have to go back and look to, so don't quote me please on what some.
I won't put you on video, so. Oh,
but,
sorry.
When we first come up with the idea, and I contacted a lot of the different cab members and the general public, at that time everyone was, yeah, we'd agree with it if it was 1 and 1. A lot of the groups didn't want extras. So we kind of went down that direction, on that path. And then as it went further along, then they kind of changed, and they said, well, we would like an additional tag. And that's kind of where it is today, and where it has been for the last couple of years. I don't know how long we've been working on it, but so, you know, all through this whole process, it's never been about myself or Eureka County Advisory Board. It's been about everybody's input. And so I would hate to stand here and say one thing or another. I would rather the whole group and everyone work off of what the whole group has to say, and because it's everybody's opportunity.
All right.
So.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for bringing us Silver State tag and helping the legislators do so. Commissioner former Commissioner Bentley, how's things going here this fine day?
Commissioners, I would just like to recommend that you follow Mr. Bliss's recommendations of the 1, 1, 1, and 1 from a fiducial responsibility due to the removal of the Nelson Bighorn tag from the heritage. That's a loss of anywhere from $80,000 to $150,000 to the program. So we need to have all of these items, all of these animals in this drought in order to be able to try and sell as many tags as we can to offset that loss that has been incurred by the removal of the desert bighorn sheep. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Harris.
Paul Harris. I would just like to say that same thing. I stand behind Chad and his recommendations, 1, 1, and 1. It's an exciting program, and we think it's going to raise a lot of money for the state. And obviously, we're in a financial position where we can need every dollar we can to move towards wildlife. And I would hope that the commission would take that into consideration when you vote on this. That Not only is what the cabs want, but it's what Chad would like to see done, and he's the one who started it all off. And give it a chance, see what kind of money it makes, and take a look at it next year.
Excellent, thank you. Further public comment? Seeing none, move this back to the commission. You know, as far as this goes, I'm a little personally hesitant to, throw out a bucket of tags at the first year. My impression, if I've gotten all along, is, I'd like to go back with what started at the beginning, which was, we need to give some kind of a premium tag. I mean, an absolute minimum, we need to give some form of what you might consider a premium tag, and then maybe another tag as well, also sought after. It's definitely something that, I think will develop over time, and after 1 year, we'll have a really good idea. After 2 years, we'll have it nailed on what it'll do for us. So, but I just hesitate at the moment to throw out a bucket of tags at it. So, let's end that. And last year, we specifically, to keep it the nine that would be split between Silver State and Heritage. The commission has always kept that, instead of going to 15, they've been very conservative, and they've always kept that at 9. Over the years, there's been a lot of pressure, and we're talking previous commissions, way back before I was ever around, back before Mr. Bentley was ever around. All those days, everybody always kept it to 9, and so we need to, if not keep it at 9, we need to keep it really close, keep it as conservative as we can, and not just, just not get out of hand. Our predecessors did, and that was a good precedent for us. Something to throw out to y'all. Go ahead. Commissioners. Or Commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner Cavan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really thought initially that we should probably just have 1 or 2 tags in the Silver State, but when I look at it overall, if we do 1 or 2 tags this year, I'm not sure what we're going to learn. So if we actually do what Eureka County's recommendation is of 1 mule deer, 1 pronghorn, 1 elk, and 1 desert bighorn, we're going to find out this year, even though it's the initial year, we're going to find out where our interest is, and I think that's the way to go, and I'll make that motion after we hear some more comments.
All right, Commissioner Lent.
I sort of disagree here. I think the whole plan here was going to start off easy. When I talked to Chad, I remember during the legislature, he said I'd take 1 tag, 2, 3, or something like that. I think that we got to be careful here, because if Clark County wants to sell our tags, why don't you recommend 4 desert tags or 5 if we're just talking about money? But I think we're talking about a resource that's being taken away from the resident hunters here. And I think it's an unproven system, and we had some projections by Chad there, and they were unproven. And so I think we've got to take it easy, and then after the first year, we'll know what the demand is and how much money we're going to make here. But to sell a desert bighorn, if it brings in $10,000, is a disgrace when we can auction it for $50,000. And so I think that if we started with a couple of these trophy ones, and like an elk and an antelope, and if they wanted to throw in a deer, 3 tags, and see what kind of a track record we get, and see what kind of money, because we know what we're getting on a mule and an antelope and an elk tag right now. And so let's see through the auction process, and let's see what that brings in. And I'd also want to ask the director here, and I don't think you guys have realized, we got a dream tag coming up here, and that means more of our resource. And what have you heard on the dream tag? Because that's mandated by law.
I haven't heard a thing, except that Debbie Smith has introduced legislation. We haven't seen the guts of the BDR to change the commission significantly, as well as the dream tag. So they haven't played, they don't have to put out the text yet. So I think that they're concerned that nothing's happened. I think they understand also the situation with the group there in Washoe County, I'm having
Trail
a senior
safe?
moment, pardon?
Trail Safe group?
No, no.
Some other group? I'm trying to figure out what you mean.
The trust.
The 501c3.
Yeah, and they came, so they needed a 5-year commitment or whatever of the number of
10
tags.
years.
So I think they're trying to solve some of those. I don't think that they're looking at least conversations that I've overheard, that it would be part of the 15 heritage tags that are available. I think it might be in addition to. So, but who knows what that'll be? But we'll have to cross that bridge when it's finally passed.
But that's an increase coming down, so I would not like to increase it past the 9 we've always had, so, you know, till we prove this system, and then this system, if it draws in more than the bid tags, then I think then we can go full blast with it. I mean, I'm all for putting more for the sportsman's opportunity in here, but I think for the first year, I will not vote over 9 tags total going out, and I think so to do that, we have to like go with 3 tags in here, 3 trophy tags, an elk, an antelope, and maybe a deer, and that'd be my recommendation.
We currently have 8 issued for 2011. And, you know, this first year, we currently have 8 issued. If we issue 3, that makes it 11 for 2011. Just throwing that out there. So, go ahead.
2 things. We got a new tag here, a new program, and my gut feeling is going to be is that each one of these tags is going to have a separate demand. In other words, similar to what you see on auction tags, there are going to be guys that are probably going to put in for sheep or elk and mule deer, but maybe, you know, not as many will put in for antelope, or there'll be a difference. You know, you'll have some guys that are going to put in for all of them, like me, but there's going to be a difference, and so the only way that we're ever going to know how these tags perform, and how many hunters are going to put in for them, is to put it out there at least once and do that. The second thing I want to mention is that I have this distinct recollection that when we were dealing with the heritage tags, and that we took 2 desert bighorn sheep tags from the heritage, that we made the promise that we were taking that tag and put it in Silver State. And that's what the promise was to the sportsman. And so I want to see this commission follow through with that promise, and you know, for that reason as well.
All right, Commissioner Capurro?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I like the idea that was set forth by, as kind of a compromise on it, that was set forth by Dr. Lent, with 1 mule deer, 1 pronghorn, and 1 Rocky Mountain elk for the first year, and then evaluate it. All the rest of them, we've adopted 2-year programs, but I think this is one, this and bears are going to be ones that we're going to have to take another look at following the hunt to see how it did. I would also, though, in that process, and I'm assuming you're going to take these separately, the Silver State and the
Yeah, we should do it separate.
Heritage tag. But when it comes to that, I am going to make a suggestion that we take another look at adding the California Bighorn Sheep tag back into the Heritage account.
Yeah, right now we're talking about 2011 Silver State and 2011 PIW. You know, as far as PIW goes, we haven't quite touched, well, actually, we should probably just stick with Silver State and then we can talk about PIW. You know, when I was looking at that before, I had been fairly convinced that the thing we should do is, hey, when Silver State comes out, we should throw out 1 sheep tag to them. That'd be a great premium tag. Chad and a few others convinced me, hey, if you're going to sell one, your best return for your buck is the elk. Compared to auction versus that, if you're just going to give one, your best return would be the elk. And now we're talking, okay, what about we go over the 9 for a year, just till we get it equalized, and then we can get it back to the 9s, then what else are you going to throw out to them? Maybe an antelope as an extra, that'll be 10. That's getting to the irresponsible. Talking deer, I mean, we're throwing out lots of extra tags. Do we really want to be doing that? It's probably not where we want to be at the time. We want to be as, you know, reasonably conservative, and then we'll see where it's going to be. And next year, we'll know. And then we can take action accordingly on the heritage. That's why I'm at, that's where I'm at on the, you know, the fancy, hey, instead of going with one sheet, maybe you should go with these other 2 tags. Your return really would be a better deal. So, but go ahead.
I think the commission really committed to a desert sheep tag last year. We made some major changes in the quotas for heritage and whatnot, and we committed to save a desert sheep tag for this hunt. And when we if we're willing to throw in an elk, which it sounds like we are, with the way the pronghorn herds are, and certainly one deer tag isn't going to hurt anything. So I think we need to honor our commitment, certainly at least for the desert sheep tag. And from there on, I think it's with the number of elk, we're not diluting that resource. With the number of antelope, we're not diluting that resource, and certainly not with deer. So I'm not hung up on this 9. I understand that the commission's been hung up on it for maybe
Decades.
15 or 20 years, but we're not 15 or 20 years ago, we're today, so,
All right, Commissioner Pearl.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I remember with respect to the discussion last year regarding the desert sheep tag was the problems we had in the Bears. And that is the fact that we had 3 desert sheep tags, we had the PIW, and we had the regular draw. The poor guy who had the regular draw, who had waited for 30 years to get it, was actually at the end of the line insofar as hunting is concerned. So we were concerned. The last several years, those tags, those premium tags have been used in the Bears because that's the popular area. That was the major reason why we reduced it from 3 to 1.
All right, I think we've discussed this plenty. You said you had a motion. Let's throw it out there. We'll see where it lands. See if we can get less than 4 amendments.
I'd make a motion that we, were you referring to me?
I'm sorry. He'd asked first. You'll probably have a chance for amendment here in about 13 seconds.
Mr. Chairman, on the Silver State CR 1105, you want to do the PIW also?
Let's do Silver State first, and then
Okay.
we'll...
On the Silver State tag, I'd like to make a motion that we allocate 1 mule deer, 1 pronghorn, and 1 Rocky Mountain elk.
Okay. We have motion and a second to approve a mule deer, pronghorn antelope, and Rocky Mountain elk for 2011 Silver State tags. Everybody, I think, understands that motion. Maybe vote on it, and if it dies, we can go with it. We can go with something else, or we want to try amending the amendment process. All right, all right, we want to try the amendment process again. All right, Mr. Cavan.
I think we should honor our commitment to a desert sheep tag that this commission made last year. I realize that we have new members, but certainly the old members, we went way out to commit to a desert sheep tag, and I'd like to include that in the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the main motion to include a Nelson Bighorn sheep tag. Does everybody understand the amendment to the motion? Let's vote on the amendment to the motion. All in favor of the amendment to the motion, signify by raising your hand, please. We've got Commissioner Wallace, Commissioner Macbeth, and Commissioner Cavan. Opposed? All right. Other 5 opposed. Motion fails, 3 to 5. All right. Let's go back to the main motion. All in favor of the main motion stand, which is 1 mule deer, 1 pronghorn, 1 Rocky Mountain elk for Silver State tags 2011. Please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Okay, we have Commissioner Wallace opposed, 7 in favor. Congratulations, Chad. That was like 3 more than you had 5 minutes ago. And 2 more than anybody thought a year ago. And, yeah, buckets of cash.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I just wanted to, and I think Chad hit it there, we've got to make sure we advertise this, exploit it as much as we can. It's a new hunt, it's a sportsman's hunt, and everybody get in and put your $20, I think it is, and I think we've got to really market it through the department and through their newsletter and everything, and get the word out to the sportsmen, because it is a new hunt. We don't want people to say, well, I didn't know it existed. So
All right,
I
we
think
need to
we'll be as
really-
successful as we market it.
Okay, on the next agenda, maybe you could give us a little update on how we're marketing that. It would be excellent. We would appreciate it, a little informational. 2011 Partnership and Wildlife Tags. I personally think it's been a great successful, and I really liked the way it was last year, but I hate to dilute it out and start losing people out of it. But, that's the way it is. We had several cab suggestions on this. A couple of them were to raise them, but a lot of them were to keep them like this. Go ahead. PIW 2011, that's our action item on this, item 24 for the 2011. Go ahead, Darrell. Is that you got a motion on it?
Yes, sir, I do. I'll throw the motion out, we'll see what happens. For 2011, I would like to, for the resident mule deer hunt, go to 22. For the non-resident, 3. For the resident pronghorn antelope hunt, 5. The desert Nelson, 1. The Rocky Mountain elk, 2. That's the Rocky Mountain elk. The Rocky Mountain goat, 1. And the California bighorn sheep, 1.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Does everybody get those numbers?
Oh, sorry, it's 22 deer, resident deer, 3 non-resident deer, 5 antelope, 1 desert bighorn, 2 Rocky Mountain elk, 1 Rocky Mountain goat, and 1 California bighorn sheep.
For the record, you said 2011.
2012.
2011, that's what's on the agenda here for
We're
item
on
24.
partnership and wildlife tags.
PIW.
It's 2011. Yeah, the other one, you're right on the heritage, it's 2012.
All right. Okay, we have motion, a second on the floor. Everybody grab those numbers. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion is unanimous, 8-0.
35 tags.
Man, how did that happen? Oh, just the unanimous thing. All right, let's move on to item number 25. Motion passed 8-0, if I didn't state that already.
For the record, Maureen Hellinger, Nevada Department of Wildlife. This is the CR 1106 is where we get to see all 3 of the statewide tag programs together for recommendation for the first time. I'd like to remind the commission, maximum of 15 for the Heritage and Silver State per NRS. Then, of course, you have those not to exceed amounts in NAC for partnership and wildlife. And then also keep in mind that Silver State has to have a concurrent heritage tag to be able to have a Silver State tag. And currently, the recommendation has the California and Silver State. We can't do it because the recommendation for heritage in 12, there isn't that concurrent. So we're going to today need to figure out how to handle that California recommendation, if to have it at all. And then, and since this is new, it was actually Mike's rationale that pointed that in the recommendation out to me. So The county recommendations for approval that I had received before coming down here to Vegas, approval from Carson County, Lincoln County, and Elko County. And then I had Clark County as approval with some recommendations. The Silver State tag, 50% reduction for the deer, antelope, and elk. Leave the desert bighorn sheep at 1 and return the excess to Heritage. Heritage, make the desert bighorn sheep 2. And then Partnership in Wildlife, return the 2010 quotas, which is the maximum allowed by NAC. I had recommendations from Pershing County to change all the sheep to 1 each. And then Eureka County recommended setting the same as 2011 with the opportunity to change after looking at the 2011 hunts. With that recommendation from Eureka County, bear in mind that the Heritage, as of March 1, will be, the proposals will be out to the vendors. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike Cox for the biology.
All right, this is basically what we just went over on 24, right? I mean, differences than what we did on 24. What do you got? Anything that wasn't just covered? Interest time?
Nope. Just to remind, I guess, everyone that we did recommend the same heritage tag numbers as was. No. Well, I screwed up, and California bighorn is not on the heritage. And I guess for me, it just makes sense that if there's no interest to having both a heritage and a Silver State in the same year, is at least have a heritage, California bighorn.
Okay. Excellent. This opens up for public comment. Is there anything additional on what we had before on it? We had a lot of 1, 1, and 1, lots of stuff there. Mr. Taberty.
Well,
Mr. Taberty.
I guess I'm looking for some information. First of all, the total PIW raised last year, do we have that information?
465.
Less than
is what we
100,000?
understand.
Was it less than $100,000? No, I think it was less than 100,000, wasn't it? Isn't it? Who was on the committee? It's less than 100,000? More than 100.
I think it was too.
They can look up the
I
information,
think
but
it was
anyways,
120.
I think we need to have that information today, and then find out, unlike this California, taking that out of the last item. I mean, where's the math in all this? I think we need to have a spreadsheet showing how much we're gaining or losing doing these accounts.
Mr. Chairman?
all right, let's
For any of them.
stick with public comment, and then we'll see where we are. Okay. Mr. Harris.
Paul Harris.
Oh,
Kind of in response to what Commissioner Cavan had said, you know, it's different times. We have the ability to put 15 of these tags out there, and, I mean, the state needs the money. It just seems crazy. I mean, this past season, we harvested about 185 desert bighorn. There was about 200 resident tags. And those 200 resident tags bring in the neighborhood of about $24,000. It's going to take you 6 years to make up for one tag. Last year, we had 17 rams that exceeded 170 inches. And to Mr. Kapoor's, I believe, your point earlier, you're absolutely wrong. There was 10 units that had sheep over 100, that were over 170 inches, 10. One unit, Unit 262 down here on the California border.
You didn't get that from me.
Well, no, you were saying how all the sheep are, they're going to one unit to kill all the big rams, and that's not the fact. That's not the case.
The fact is, that's what happened with
Well,
these premium
we've
tags.
eliminated, we've resolved that issue by making that, because they can't do that anymore. But my point is we've killed, last year, there was 17 rams that were 170 plus. And trophy hunters the guys who are bidding on these heritage tags have huge, deep pockets. You're looking at it probably, those tags are going to go for, that one tag will probably go for $150,000 or possibly plus this year. You're throwing out $150,000. I don't see, in today's economic times how we can do that. I understand that you haven't had over 9 tags in the past, but that doesn't mean you have the flexibility to go to 15. It's 150,000, 130 to 150,000 you're throwing away. It just seems unrealistic that you would do that in these economic times. It's not 2005 when money was just falling out of the sky. It's not. We're in tough economic times. We need the money for wildlife. You know, it just seems crazy that you would do that. 6 years to make that money back with regular resident tags, that's just crazy that you're just throwing it away. And I, you know, it's a personal vendetta almost, it seems like, by some of the commissioners not to have that tag. It's crazy.
All right. Any public comment? Haven't covered already? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Chairman?
Let me throw out just one thing, you know, also, you know, it appears exceedingly greedy to be throwing out looking 15 tags. That's another way that sportsmen be looking at this. You know, making things rich man's sport has never been the way of this commission, the commission before this commission, and the commission before that commission. And we don't need to be looking that way. And we start throwing out 15 tags, it looks exceedingly greedy. That's public perception that I foresee. So, that's the word that was used to me. Go ahead, Mr. Capurro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, that's exactly the testimony we had last year when we dealt with this issue, that all of the premium tags had gone to the bears and taken them. It's an easy hunt. They got big rams there. Our concern was that they were going to be hunted out, so I don't know where you got your information, but that's not the case. I was the one that made the motion to increase the tags that I think are important, and that is the partnership in wildlife. That's the ordinary hunter, the guy who can't afford to pay $50,000 for a tag. But my motion was to increase the 30 that we had last year to 35, and this commission approved it unanimously. I'm prepared to make a motion relative to the heritage tag.
Let's have it.
The tag, and good to my promise about what I said when I made the other motion. I'm recommending 2 mule deer, 2 pronghorn, 2 Rocky Mountain elk, 1 desert bighorn, 1 California bighorn, and the 5 turkeys. That is a total of, if I remember correctly, 11. So that's an increase over what we had last year.
13, yeah,
which was 8. The 5 are turkeys, they're a separate issue altogether. So my motions have resulted in an increase of the premium tags to 11. And that's more than we've ever had.
Okay, that was a motion on 2011,
12.
or 2012, excuse me, wildlife heritage tags. Does everybody understand the motion as it was made? Yeah, oh, I was looking for a second before we can talk about this. Second. It's been properly moved by Commissioner Pearl, seconded by Commissioner Howell, to have basically as department presented with an additional California on the 2012 wildlife heritage tags. Correct? Okay. We have Commissioner Vogler, followed by Commissioner Macbeth.
Maybe it's too late for this, but what if we threw in a bear tag? We're supposedly got the biggest black bears in the continental United States. Maybe somebody would jump on it.
Was that an amendment to a motion?
If it's legal, yes, I make that as an amendment to the motion.
I'll second that amendment.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't believe that it was noticed with bear included to the public.
It's into that.
Says,
I think we need to ask the commission's DAG here.
yeah, so I was kind of looking over to the left here. You know, could this, because it's talking about heritage tags could be any big game tag, theoretically, but he's the legal.
The other question is not only this, but how does that affect the bear reg?
say that for the public here?
Just looking over the public notice, I do agree. I don't think that the public did have adequate notice that a bear would be considered for this hunt. I think it'd be, honestly advisable if a bear tag wasn't included, but the other species, there is notice for that.
So we're going to withdraw or motion for the amendment? Or not?
I reluctantly withdraw.
All right. Making a second to the amendment, withdraw that. But very good point. In any future,
Yes.
might want to put that on just for consideration of the next group. Go ahead, Mr. Macbeth, and then Commissioner Lent, and then we'll hopefully get a vote on this sometime because we got to get going. Please be
Have
brief.
we've had Heritage California Bighorn before? We have?
Yeah.
What did that sell for?
Quite good amounts,
50,000.
50,000 more or less.
Okay.
I've got that information. 2010, it was 55,000, 9 it was 45, and 2008, it was 60,000.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to offer an amendment.
Okay, amendment.
I'd like to amend the 2012 Wildlife Heritage Tags to add one additional Nelson Bighorn sheep tag to the list.
Okay, so we got a motion to make this 2, 2, 2, 2, and 1, which 2 mule deer, 2 pronghorn, 2 Rocky Mountain, 2 Nelson Bighorn, and 1 California. That's how it would be if the motion, if the amendment to the main motion passed. Everybody understand that? Go ahead, Commissioner Lent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got some comments on that. We got accused of being a personal vendetta, but I'd like to see that gentleman that stood up and said that. He said we got $140,000 in these tags. Well, I don't think we got that much, and if he'd like to make up the difference. Now, Maureen, our California sold 2 weeks ago. Do you know what that sold for? And our desert tag is going to sell next week. It's not going to go anywhere near $100,000. The Alaskan doll tag, the governor's tag, went for $19,000 at SCI in the Tokes. And so these prices are going down. And just because the prices go down doesn't mean we're going to add more. In my opinion, I would not support adding more tags just for money. I mean, there's got to be a stop to it. And do you know what the California sold 2 weeks ago?
No, I don't. I haven't
Thank you.
received the information yet.
And the value of these tags they're not raising as much. And so the tempo I'm hearing is, well, we're getting X number of dollars. Let's put more tags in and sell more tags because they need the money. Well, there's other thing in this world besides money that we have other sportsmen that can apply for these tags instead of bidding them off. And I think the sportsmen have a better right to them than trying to sell our resources off that belong to every citizen in the state, just so some group can have a function and it celebrates their function. And I think that we're getting more and more tags, and we're getting way past what I think we should do. You want to make a rich man's sport, then why don't we sell all of the tags instead of all of California and auction them off instead of drawing for them, if that's what you want to do. And so I would not support going to 2 Desert Bighorn because of that. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's looking quite greedy. That's what the public's going to see. Go ahead, Mr. Cavan, hopefully, and then we need to get moving on. All right. Mr. Vogler, and then we need to get moving on these motions.
I understand, but, Mr. Lent, as far as I'm concerned, is the biggest comment. I get 1 elk tag. I'm the only producer of livestock in 113, 112, and most of 111 units, and I get 1 elk tag. I support a slug of elk. But every year, I will have a half a dozen elk hunters come up to me and say, if you didn't get that tag, I would have got that tag. And you're getting rich off of our wildlife. But I do support them, and I support the elk hunt. And it's the same way. I, last year, very proudly became a Grand Slammer. And I got 2 of those animals in this state, and there is no way on God's green earth that I could have afforded that kind of a tag. So if we're going to make this a rich man's sport, then let's just sell them all and do it by incentive. The more deer you produce, the higher your wages are at Endow. Let's just do her all. Or let's make it a sport for the general public. Thank you.
All right. We have a motion on the floor that, and a motion to amend the main motion on the floor. That motion was to amend the number of Nelson Bighorn sheep tags to 2. So we need to vote on that amendment to the motion. All in favor of that amendment signify by raising your hand. Commissioner Wallace, Commissioner McBeth, Commissioner Cavan, all opposed? 5, the other 5 are opposed. Motion to amend fails. We're back to the main motion, which is as department presented, plus an additional California Bighorn sheep. This is for 2012 wildlife heritage tags. Everybody understand the main motion? No, we got question. Question on that main motion?
The reason we added that language was the bears situation that we had last year, and yes, I would like to include that.
So to include that a unit where the heritage tag holder harvested the previous year would be closed to, in the following year.
Just bighorn sheep or all species?
Just bighorn sheep. That's what we.
Only for, and was that California or
Desert,
just Nelson?
Just for desert.
Only for Nelson Bighorn sheep, okay. Does everybody understand that, the motion as it's, and the second of the motion, agreed with that? Whoever seconded that? Yes. Okay. So the main motion now is, restate the main motion. Just restate it for the record. In respect to Nelson Bighorn sheep. Okay, everybody understand the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion passed unanimously, 8-0. Let's move right on. We've got time constraints. We need to get moving. I think we've hashed this stuff out. Right now we're at Silver State, 2012.
Mr. Chairman,
Let's
I'll make a
move on.
motion if.
Go ahead.
I'd make a motion that we defer action on the Silver State tag for 2012 until we have results that we can look at and reset the quota accordingly.
Everybody understand the motion and second? I had originally, when this came up in the agenda, I'd said, maybe we should just do 2011. However, I was convinced otherwise that 2012 would be good to give people an expectation that, yes, there would be a quota. And, personally, I would like to see a quota thrown out there, same as last year, just so that, and then we can amend that at a later time, just so that there is a basis and we're telling, hey, this is not a one-year thing, this is a continuing operation. There is an expectation you'll have this in 2012. That's what convinced me to put both years on the agenda, but, there's a motion and a second on the floor.
Mr.
I'd throw
Chairman.
that, go ahead.
I'll make an amendment to that.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make an amendment that we put 2012 Silver State the same as 2011 as far as the quota goes.
Amendment was to make the 2012 Silver State tag quota the same as what we previously voted on for 2011. 1 mule deer, 1 antelope, 1 elk. That's the motion, to amend the other motion. So, and we can, of course, we can always change it later. That's our next year. So, we do it next year. But that way that's stated for now. Is that a second on that, or? Okay, Commissioner Shrum seconds that. There's currently amendment to amend the main motion to read 2012 Silver State Tag, 1 mule deer, 1 antelope, 1 Rocky Mountain elk. Everybody understand the amendment to the motion? We vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment to the motion, signify by raising your hand. Okay, all opposed? Okay, so in favor of the motion, we have, and I will be voting affirmative of this. Okay, so we have Commissioner Vogler, Commissioner Lent, Commissioner Rain, Commissioner Howell, Commissioner Shrum in favor of the motion to amend the motion. Now we have a motion on the floor that states 2012 Silver State tags, and the other 4 would be opposed to that amendment. Okay, 2012 Silver State tags, 1 mule deer, 1 antelope, 1 Rocky Mountain elk. Does everybody understand the main motion as it currently is amended to read? All in favor of that main motion, signify by raising your hand. Okay. Okay, 2012 Silver State tags, 1 deer, 1 antelope, 1 Rocky Mountain elk. That's the current, that is the motion on the floor for 2012 Silver State tags. Okay? Same as 2011. Identical to 2011. Okay, all in favor once again? Commissioner Vogler, Commissioner Lent, Commissioner Shrum, Commissioner Howell, Commissioner Capurro. All opposed? Commissioner McBeth, Commissioner Wallace, Commissioner Cavan. Motion passes 5-3. Let's move on. And that is all on this item. We need to.
Point of clarification?
Yes.
Okay, so you just passed a motion, that the motion was by Tom Cavan that this get tabled. So you just passed that. So this item is tabled.
No, the motion that was just passed, that motion had been amended, and the amended motion was 2012 Silver State tags, it's a quote of 1 mule deer, 1 antelope, 1 elk. That was it was amended and voted upon and approved. That was the amended motion. And of course, I'd like to make sure the department, when I put this on the agenda for next year, revisit it, we'll look at that again, move it up, move it down, get rid of it, whatever numbers decide. As should very well happen, but I'd just like to have that out there so we're sure, relatively assured there will be one, and the public can be assured that this is not a one-year off deal. All right. That was my intention, it's not necessarily the commission. Let's see, 26. Commission Regulation 11-08, Mountain Lion Seasons.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
11,
Did we miss something?
Partnership and Wildlife.
Oh, PIW 2012. My mistake. Yep, knew we were missing something. Yep, need to turn over that page. Thank you very much, appreciate it. All right, we have motion on 2012 PIW hunts. Commissioner Capurro. We've already had it. We're just ready for a motion.
Okay, I move that the 2012 Partnership and Wildlife Hunt numbers be the same as for 2011. That's a total of 35 tags, with 22 for deer, resident, 3 for non-resident, 5 pronghorn antelope, 1 desert bighorn, 2 Rocky Mountain elk, 1 Rocky Mountain goat, and 1 California.
Okay, does everybody understand the motion? Mirror 2011, he stated the numbers on PIW. Does everybody understand the motion? All in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now that's it. Let me see. Yep. All right. 20, yes. The Commissioner Lent was the second. I'm sorry. Commission Regulation 11-08, Mountain Lion Seasons, 2011-2012 and 2012-2013. Staff Biologist Russell Wolstenhume. It's an action item.
Russell Wolstenhume, Mendo, for the record. There's no change on Mountain Lion Seasons and Objectives over the previous 2 years, with the exception of Unit 091, which is a standalone unit. That was changed from 4 lions to 2 for each of the upcoming 2 years. The reason why that was changed is our agreement with Utah was that there'd be a total of 4 lions on that interstate hunt, and we set our quota at 4, and the total for both states was to be 4. So it's just a correction on that, so that we're compliant with our agreement with Utah.
Okay, excellent. We have, let's go with public comment on this issue. Let me see, what was there from the cabs? Lost my sheet here. Come up with public comment, any of the cabs? What do you have? Anything, public comment from anybody on this item? Seeing none, close public hearing on this item. Bring it back to the commission. What is your favor? Go ahead, Commissioner Vogler.
Excuse me, Chairman Ring. I don't understand, Russell, if you don't mind. Isn't this area that we've just had a recent die-off in the wild sheep? And also, shouldn't we be increasing that tag? Nobody told the lions they're going to have to find something else to eat. Is that going to put more pressure on what we've got left there?
Statistically, looking at that hunt unit over the last, 7 years, which is when that was changed to a standalone unit, is 091. Before it was part of 079. And 091 was created to just isolate the Pilot Peak, which is where the sheep you're talking about occurred. Since that change in the 03-04 season, there's been 2 lions harvested total since 2003-04 in that unit.
Is that just a lack of hunting or because of the way it sets on the border, or the dogs may cross the line?
Well, the joint hunt with Utah is because it's on the border, and that allows hunters to hunt on both sides of the state. From either state, you can hunt on either side of the line, as long as you're compliant with the other states.
You understand my concern. I don't want to lose the rest of that wild sheep population.
Certainly, but I think that there's there seems to be a lack of interest and partially a lack of lions on that unit. There's not a great prey base out there. I'm not saying there's no lions, but 2 lions in the last 7 years in there. There's not a lot of interest by sportsmen to hunt that unit. It's pretty rough to hunt, dry and steep country over there.
One question, did NDOW have any numbers that they think is the population statewide for the mountain lions? I didn't see this in this. I know I've seen it previously many occasions, but is there anything updates? The most recent population, adult lions within the state on the model was, I don't remember the exact number, but it was between 1,200 and 1,300 total adults in the state. This is our plan. The Mountain Lion Plan asks us to come forward with a number that is either the average of 3 previous years' harvest or 25% of the total population, whichever is lower. 3 years average of harvest would be the lower number here, and the 304 would be the total on these, is actually about 25% of the population total. All right. Because the previous population totals I'd seen was 2,500. I'd heard 2,000, but 2,500 was the number we'd been presented in previous years.
That's total population, and typically with the populations we try to present just the adults because recruitment isn't set yet on the juvenile cats. So,
excellent. All right, thank you very much. All right, commissioners. Let's see. I'm going to throw out a couple things here on this issue. One is previously, the only science we've really had hard in Nevada was the one study, the Altman study that came out. It said you can harvest 30% lion population and not affect the population, and that was what was considered in that study to be an extremely conservative estimate. Other states have come out with studies saying that number is far higher than 30% you can harvest in any given year and not affect the main population. So, these numbers did seem quite conservative, if not exceedingly so, under that That said, go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you ready for a motion?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we approve Commission Regulation 1108 with the following changes. I'd like to raise the quota to 500. I'd like to eliminate the limit on the tags completely. And the method of take I'd like to change to include incidental trapping. During the trapping season, we need to get a handle on how many trappers are taking lions, and this way they could take the lion and bring them in, and would have a number. We're in the last 8 years, we're like about 1,300 lions short of our quota.
All right,
We need-
do we want to break that up between the unit groups here? Do we want to leave the two in the interstates, 091, and how do we want to break it up the rest?
Well, the units are pretty much broken up already by the department, so they'll have to more or less double a couple of them, and then add the difference to get it up to 500.
With the distribution, identical to the distribution that is there, but totaling 500.
Exactly.
Okay. With racial distribution and unlimited tags.
Unlimited tags.
Okay. Fair enough?
Could I make a comment?
I made a motion.
So we have a second by Mr. Schrum. Anybody else on the commission? We have. We're ready for a motion on the motion and second on it?
Can I,
With this, all right. What would we like, with the commission level right now? What would you like to hear comment from the director? All right. Director.
I guess, being a third-generation Californian, living through the California mess, we are California now. You saw them here. You saw them protesting. If you think for a minute that we're not going to be subject to legal scrutiny, you're kidding yourself, okay? That's my first. I've been there, done that, seen it. We lost it in California. I think it takes an NAC change. I'm surprised that the DAG for the commission hasn't jumped in here on the trapping issue. I think that's a totally separate issue that needs to be looked at very carefully. The other thing is that when you start throwing out 500, I'm not sure where that actually sits within our biological analysis that we've done. If it's beyond the limits of what we've actually modeled or can support, that's the avenue of which the animal rights activists will file a lawsuit, and we could be out of lion hunting completely. I guess I would urge you, I believe in lion hunting. I want to see lion hunting. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize lion hunting. And so I would urge the commission to be measured in the way we approach this. A workshop, I think, would be the way to do this. We could talk about our model. If you want to talk, come to the office, I'll talk about, and we will talk about what the model, how it's constructed, the strengths, the weaknesses. I just think that before we go and get kind of crazy on this, that we should really understand what we're doing and what the ramifications are.
All right, let's see, looking at the only science that NDOW has that's significant on the subject, 700 would be the number according to the only science, so this is 200 underneath that, extremely conservative by NDOW's only long-term study. Yes, go ahead.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, Director Mayor, is there, can you explain why the Sheldon and the Desert NWR areas are closed to lion hunting?
Russell, maybe you can answer this, but I believe it's what the Fish and Wildlife Service has dictated.
Okay, I'm curious as to why that
Yeah,
is.
that's not an NDOW deal, that's a federal government deal.
So they,
I know I've been on the DNWR, and basically you can't shoot a jackrabbit, you can't shoot anything except a bighorn
yeah,
sheep
the
with a
trouble is,
tag.
that's an area where the lions cleaned them out years ago and that. And,
The sheep range.
So they have the ability to allow us to do it, but apparently, they're not interested in that, so I think that answered my question.
All right. So we got a motion, second on the floor. Everybody understand the motion? Commissioner Macbeth.
I'd like to offer a motion to amend that motion. I'd like to have my motion state that the commission accept the 2011, 2012, 2013 harvest objectives for Mountain Line under CR 11-08 as set forth by the department.
Second.
All right, there's a motion, a second on the floor to amend this, to put it back to where the department's recommendations. It's been seconded by Commissioner Wallace. Everybody understand this motion? To amend the main motion. Let's vote on the motion to amend the motion, or comment first.
I would like to amend the motion to amend the motion, if that's possible.
Very good.
And not deal with the numbers, but this one would, the overall numbers, but to remove the 2 tag maximum per person, and that there be no limit within the confines of the numbers that are adopted.
Any numbers that are adopted, or some?
No, in other words, if I could get 17 lions in an overall quota of 300, then why shouldn't I be allowed to take 17 lions?
Yes. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to explain it's in NAC, the 2 tag maximum per person.
All this, let's see, Commission General Regulation, okay.
Chairman Rain, I have a question for Russell before we go on any further. Did you say this is about what we're taking every year?
We've been, 2009, 2010, the total state known take, and that's all methods of take, that's sport hunters, that's wildlife services, and roadkills was 180. And the harvest limits set for that year were 306. This year, we're currently, all known methods of take, we're setting, there's still a month left, and I haven't, there's about a week lag, and I haven't got all the reports yet, but as of Wednesday, we were at 130 total for the
But
harvest.
depending on snow, depending on lots of things, this could fluctuate really rapidly.
That's a huge factor is weather conditions. If there's no
And
there's
we
no
have
snow.
an endless supply of them coming in out of the Sierra Nevadas and out of Oregon, southern Oregon.
We
They
do
don't
we do have
have-
lines coming in from other states. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Rain, while you're conferring, could I ask,
Go right ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if we're not taking as many lions as we have in our quota, we have a quota of 45 bears, and we're only going to take 20 of them, so a number of takes has no reflection on what we actually take. I mean, is there going to be a big rush that if we raised it to 1,000, are we going to take 1,000 lions, or are we going to take 400?
Well, Ken Mayor, for the record, my experience is this. Well, first of all, I think only 2 people took 2 lions. So, I mean, very, very few people take more than 1 lion, first of all. So, you know, so the reason, I understand why. But my experience has been is perception. If you set this is not a